Everyone. This week the workroom is unavailable again, but instead of not making a video, I decided that I was going to do this instead and make do with what I have. So, this week I'm going to be showing you this old project that I made when I was in high school. It's pretty beat up now, but it's always been a bit beat up. I got inspired by a grunge look in a magazine and I decided that I wanted to try to make it. It's a belt made out of labels that I pulled off of jeans for my family members.
To get started, you're going to want some belt buckles. Your belt buckle has to be the same size as your largest label. Any smaller and you're not going to be able to use it as a belt. You're also going to want something to cut fabric with, a seam ripper to remove the labels from your pants, some thread, and some needles to sew it all together. You're also going to want some fabric and a grommet puncher, which I don't have with me right now, but you're going to need one. You're going to want to start by laying out your fabric and figuring how much you're going to need for this project. Normally it would be the size of the belt that you want, however I'm going to be doing a small sample piece for today, since I really don't have the room to make a whole belt. One of the best ways to start this is ripping off your labels to see how wide you need your material to be to begin with. For example, I'm going to start ripping out labels from any place that I can find them on these jeans. I used some from the inside and most of them came from the outside, like this one here. Leather labels are probably the best to go with, however, you're going to want to avoid labels like the one I'm ripping off now. They're a bit fragile. At the end, you should have them like this, though. You can just use a seam ripper to rip them off. Once that's done, you're going to want to lay out your labels like you're going to have them on your belt. This is going to allow you to see how many you have, how many more you need, and which ones you want where. This is also a good time to figure out which one is going to be your largest label. This is going to decide the size of your belt buckle and the size of your belt as well. Laying them out, you're going to want to figure that out. Lay out the buckle that you need, and then you're going to measure out the largest label you have, double it, and then add about a half an inch, and that's going to be how much fabric you're going to need in the width for your belt. Once you have that figured out, you're going to want to cut it out using whatever you have, and then you're going to sew the long sides together of your fabric, like I'm doing here. Normally I would sew this on a machine, but I don't have one on hand right now, so I'm going to be doing it by hand, which I'm not very good at, as you can tell. But it'll work. Once that's done, you're going to want to turn the tube of fabric you just made inside out, and then press it flat. Doing this will help the belt keep its shape after you add the buckle on, what you should be doing after this step. Adding the buckle is going to be pretty simple now. You're going to want to tuck in the raw edges of your tube, and then you're going to cut a small hole about an inch from where you just tucked in the raw edges. After that, you're going to weave your belt buckle onto the piece of fabric you just cut the hole into. Once that's done, you're going to sew down everything so the raw edges don't pop out and the belt buckle is sturdy at the end of the material. Once that's done, you're going to want to lay out your labels just like you had them before and stitch them down by hand. Around the edges, I use what my mother used to call a blanket stitch just to make sure they're extra secure. However, on the insides, I tried to use a more invisible stitch, if that's really a good term to be using, to basically make them blend in and make it look like one thing of material. Please remember to do one label at a time. Too much will be overwhelming and it'll be harder to keep track of what goes where. At the end, you should have a product that looks like this. This is when you're going to want to add your grommets. You want to know where everything is before you even think about this step. Honestly, I didn't do too good of a job at it, however, I'm sure you can do better. Tacking them down a little bit more securely probably would have saved me a lot of trouble at this point. However, I'm pretty proud with how this turned out, and it's lasted me a very long time for it being a very poorly put together project. I would definitely suggest it if you want to try. It's a very nice belt.